The forest loomed ahead like a dark maw, its trees swaying in the howling wind. Claire Whitman gripped her flashlight, the beam piercing the mist that hugged the ground. She had heard the stories but refused to believe them. To her, it was just another urban legend waiting to be debunked. She had no idea how wrong she was. Stepping out of her car, she felt the weight of the forest's silence pressing against her ears. The only sounds were the crunch of gravel underfoot and the distant rustle of leaves. She glanced at the weathered sign that read, "Blackwood Forest. Enter at your own risk." It felt more like a warning than a welcome. Determined, she switched on her flashlight and ventured forward. As she ventured deeper, the air grew colder, and the forest seemed unnaturally silent. Claire's every step echoed, swallowed by the dense canopy. She noticed strange symbols carved into the trees, their patterns eerily precise. Each symbol seemed to watch her, pulling her closer to the center of the forest, to the whispering tree. The deeper she went, the more oppressive the atmosphere became. Every now and then, she thought she heard faint footsteps behind her, but when she turned, there was nothing but shadows. Her flashlight flickered, casting fleeting shapes on the forest floor. Were they tricks of the light, or something more sinister? Her breath quickened as she realized there was no turning back. There it was. The whispering tree stood impossibly tall, its branches twisting like skeletal fingers against the sky. The carvings on its bark glowed faintly, revealing names spiraling upward. Claire's flashlight faltered, casting jagged shadows as the whispers began. Faint at first, then louder, overlapping, until they filled her mind. The whispers were not just sounds, they were voices, each one distinct and accusing. They spoke in a language she could barely understand, yet the meaning was clear. They knew her. They knew everything. Her knees buckled and she dropped her flashlight. The beam illuminated the ground, littered with decayed objects. A shoe, a broken watch, a faded photograph. This place had claimed others before her. The voices overlapped, each one clawing at her mind. "Do you remember what you did?" they asked. Memories she had buried long ago surfaced, sharp and unrelenting. She tried to run, but the tree's branches moved, blocking her path. She screamed as the whispers grew louder, each one revealing a part of her she wished she could forget. She fell to her knees, clutching her head as the whispers grew deafening. Images from her past flashed before her eyes. Arguments, betrayals, moments of weakness. The tree seemed to feed on her guilt, growing stronger with each revelation. She begged for it to stop, but the voices only laughed. And then, one voice stood out among the chaos, whispering her name. By morning, the forest was silent once more. Claire's car remained parked at the edge of the woods, but she was nowhere to be found. Hikers discovered her recorder near the whispering tree. It played back only static at first, but then came her voice, trembling. It knows everything. And then, silence. The locals whispered of her fate, adding her name to the growing list of those lost to Blackwood Forest. The whispering tree stood as it always had, its branches swaying gently in the breeze. But if you listened closely, you could hear it, the faint sound of whispers, carrying the secrets of the lost.